What if you could fill your garden with plants that take care of themselves, keep coming back stronger year after year, and turn every season into a vibrant showcase without endless replanting? What if the secret to a low-maintenance, high-impact garden lies in choosing the right perennials that thrive on their own? Here are 15 spectacular perennials that prove this idea works, each explained as a direct answer to that question. Let's count down from 15 to 1 and see how these plants can transform any garden space. Number 15. Coneflower, Echinacea purpurea. If you've never grown a coneflower, you're missing out on one of the most forgiving and rewarding perennials available. This hardy plant thrives in USDA zones 3 through 9, so unless you live in an extreme climate, it will survive winter without complaint. Its daisy-like blooms appear from midsummer through fall, offering a splash of purple, pink, white, orange, or deep rose depending on the cultivar. The classic purpurea variety showcases a striking deep rose-purple petal ring surrounding a spiky copper-orange cone that looks like a painted masterpiece. Beyond its beauty, coneflowers are prolific self-seeders. A single plant can drop enough seeds to produce a dozen new plants around it, creating a natural multiplication effect. They attract monarch butterflies, swallowtails, bees, and goldfinches, especially when you leave the seed heads standing into winter, feeding wildlife while ensuring natural reseeding. In addition to pollinator value, the roots of Echinacea are harvested for herbal teas and immune-boosting tinctures, a practice documented by Native American tribes for centuries. Gardeners who harvest responsibly can strip seed heads in late summer, dry them, and store the seeds for future sowing, turning the garden into a small seed bank. Plant them in full sun to light shade in well-draining soil, space them 18 to 24 inches apart, and expect a mature height of 2 to 5 feet. They are drought-tolerant once established, deer-resistant, and require no staking. For a boost, divide the clumps every 3 to 4 years in early spring, rejuvenating the plant and giving you free new stock. When you pair coneflowers with ornamental grasses such as miscanthus, the contrasting textures heighten visual interest and provide shelter for beneficial insects. Number 14. Black-eyed Susan, Rudbeckia fulgida variety, Salvia Goldsturm. The Goldsturm cultivar of Black-eyed Susan is a workhorse of the perennial garden, yet it often goes unappreciated. Hardy from zones 3 through 9, it blooms from July through October, extending the garden's color palette well into late autumn. The iconic golden yellow petals surround a dark brown-black center, creating a striking contrast that looks spectacular when mass-planted. This cultivar has been shown in university studies to produce longer, more abundant blooms than the species type, making it especially valuable in hot, humid regions, zones 7 to 9, where many flowers wilt by July. Goldsturm also excels in phytoremediation. Its deep taproot can draw up trace metals from the soil, gradually improving soil health. Pair it with coneflower for a pollinator-rich display that can last for nearly 5 months straight. Like coneflower, Black-eyed Susan spreads by rhizomes and self-seeds, so a single planting yields more year after year. Plant it in full sun, average to dry soil, and divide every 3 to 4 years to keep the clumps vigorous. Leave the seed heads through winter to feed birds and provide natural reseeding. For a cottage garden feel, intersperse Goldsturm with low-growing thyme or creeping oregano. The aromatic herbs deter pests, while the Susan's tall stems add vertical drama. Number 13. Yarrow, Achillea millefolium. Yarrow may appear simple, but it is a powerhouse of adaptability, drought tolerance, and long-lasting bloom. It thrives in USDA zones 3 through 9, flowering from late spring through early fall. When deadheaded regularly, yarrow can rebloom multiple times in a single season, offering a continuous display of flat-topped clusters in white, yellow, pink, red, or salmon. Its feathery, fern-like foliage emits an aromatic scent that deters deer and rabbits, confusing their sense of smell. Beyond its ornamental value, yarrow releases allelopathic compounds that suppress weeds, acting as a natural weed suppressant in the garden. Research from the University of Minnesota shows that yarrow's nectar contains high concentrations of flavonoids, which attract predatory insects such as parasitic wasps, lacewings, and hoverflies. These beneficial insects prey on aphids, spider mites, and cabbage loopers, reducing the need for chemical controls. Plant yarrow in full sun to average poor, well-draining soil. It actually performs better in poorer soils, where richer conditions can make it floppy and leggy. It reaches 2 to 3 feet tall, spreads vigorously, and should be divided every 2 to 3 years to keep it in check. For cut flower enthusiasts, Yarrow's dried heads retain color and structure for months, providing a valuable marketable product for florists and craft makers. Adding a few rows of yarrow along a garden border also creates a low-maintenance, pest-resistant hedge that can replace traditional, high-maintenance hedges. Number 12. Salvia. Salvia nemorosa Caradonna. Salvia Caradonna brings a professional garden design vibe without the need for expert effort. It is hardy in USDA zones 4 through 8 and produces tall spikes of deep violet-blue flowers from late spring into summer. A single cutback after the first bloom, a practice known as the Chelsea chop, prompts a second flush of blooms in late summer, effectively giving you 2 blooming periods from one plant each year. The dark purple stems make a dramatic vertical accent, especially when combined with ornamental grasses, roses, or yarrow. Salvia is highly drought-tolerant, deer and rabbit-resistant, and is a top choice for bee conservancy programs because its tubular flowers perfectly accommodate bumblebees and honeybees. Historically, Salvia nemorosa was used in European herbal medicine to treat digestive complaints, and modern phytochemical analyses confirm the presence of rosmarinic acid, an antioxidant. Plant it in full sun with well-draining soil. Space plants 18-24 inches apart and expect a mature height of 18-24 inches. For a naturalistic look, arrange salvias in odd-numbered groups, 3, 5, or 7, to create flowing cottage garden aesthetics. Pairing Caradonna with low-growth sedum autumn joy provides a complementary color scheme, violet against copper red, that enhances late-season garden photography and attracts late-season pollinators such as butterflies and moths. Number 11. Catmint. Nepeta times Farseni, Walker's Low. Despite its name, Walker's Low is not a dwarf. It forms a mounding habit of 24 to 36 inches, cascading gracefully over garden edges, walls, and pathways. This hardy plant thrives in USDA zones 4 through 8 and delivers lavender blue blooms from late spring through midsummer. Like salvia, a hard cut back after the first flush encourages a second wave of blossoms later in the season. Its silvery grey aromatic foliage makes it a powerful deer deterrent. Deer avoid the scent entirely. When paired with roses, catmint creates a classic, visually striking and deer-proof border that has been a staple of English cottage garden design for decades. Catmint's nectar is especially attractive to long-tongued bees such as carpenter bees, which can pollinate deeper corolla plants that other insects miss. Plant it in full sun to light shade, in average to dry soil, and enjoy its low-maintenance nature. Cut it back by half after the first bloom, feed lightly with a balanced fertilizer, and watch it rebound lushly in 2 to 3 weeks. Catmint also attracts neighborhood cats, which may roll in its foliage, adding a lively dynamic for those who enjoy feline visitors. For a scented pathway, interplant Walker's Low with thyme and sage. The combined fragrances create a sensory corridor that discourages pests while inviting pollinators. Number 10. Coreopsis. Coreopsis verticillata moonbeam. Coreopsis moonbeam is often described as bottled sunshine, offering soft, creamy yellow flowers that blanket the plant so densely the foliage is barely visible. It thrives in USDA zones 3 through 9, blooming from early summer through fall, the longest bloom season of any perennial on this list. The feathery, thread-like foliage provides an airy texture that contrasts beautifully with bolder neighboring plants. Moonbeam won the Perennial Plant of the Year award in 1992 and remains a top seller because it simply works. Beyond aesthetics, Coreopsis is a magnet for beneficial insects such as lady beetles and parasitic wasps, which lay eggs in aphid colonies that often infest nearby vegetables. Plant it in full sun, average to dry soil, and ensure excellent drainage. Coreopsis dislikes wet feet. It grows 18 to 24 inches tall and wide, and deadheading spent blooms promotes continuous flowering. A mid-season cutback of about a third encourages fresh growth and a second flush of flowers within weeks. Proper drainage is key. Amend heavy soils with coarse sand and compost before planting to guarantee longevity of 10 to 20 years or more. Pair moonbeam with low-growth ornamental grasses like blue fescue for a meadow-style planting that looks natural and requires minimal upkeep. Number 9. Astilbe. Astilbe times Arensi. Astilbe thrives where most plants struggle, under shade, dappled light, or in the dark north-facing corners of a garden. Hardy, in USDA zones 4 through 9, it produces feathery, plume-like flower spikes in white, pink, red, lavender, or coral from late spring through midsummer. Its deeply cut, glossy foliage remains attractive even when the plant is not in bloom, contributing texture and structure all season. Unlike most perennials on this list, Astilbe requires consistently moist soil and does not tolerate drought. It is perfect for low-lying, moisture-rich areas near downspouts, ponds, or streams. Cultivars such as Fennel, deep red, bridal veil, pure white, and amethyst, lavender purple, have been selected for disease resistance, especially against leaf spot caused by fungal pathogens. Astilbe reaches 1.4 feet tall depending on variety. Planting in groups maximizes visual impact. Leaving the dried seed heads standing through winter adds russet brown interest and provides food for birds, while the dried plumes make striking winter floral arrangements. For gardeners in hotter zones, selecting a cultivar with reduced leaf size, such as pumila, helps the plant stay cooler and reduces water demand. Number 8. Sedum, Hylotelephium spectabile, Autumn Joy. Sedum, Autumn Joy, is a succulent that delivers 4 distinct seasonal performances. In early summer, it forms a tight architectural clump of blue-green fleshy leaves. By late summer, it erupts into flat-topped broccoli-shaped flower clusters that start apple green, transition to dusty pink, and finally deepen to a rich rusty red bronze by fall. The seed heads persist through winter, turning coppery brown and maintaining structure even under snow, providing year-round interest. Hardy in USDA zones 3 through 9, sedum thrives in full sun, average to poor, well-draining soil, and is extremely drought-tolerant. It grows 18 to 24 inches tall, requires no staking, and becomes floppy if planted in shade. Late-season pollinators, especially migrating monarch butterflies, flock to the blooming stems, making sedum a valuable plant for supporting butterfly migration, an action backed by research from organizations like Monarch Watch. Additionally, the succulent leaves store water, making Autumn Joy a useful companion for xeriscape gardens where water conservation is a priority. Pair it with ornamental grasses such as panicum for a layered effect, or plant it on a rocky slope to mimic its native habitat in the Chinese mountains. Number 7. Russian Sage, Perovskia atriplicifolia. Russian sage is pure, unapologetic drama with tall, silvery white stems, small aromatic leaves, and hazy lavender blue flower spikes that appear to float like clouds. Hardy in USDA zones 4 through 9, it blooms from midsummer through fall, reaching 3 to 5 feet tall and up to 3 feet wide. It demands full sun and, once established, is extremely drought-tolerant and resistant to deer and rabbits due to its aromatic foliage. As a subshrub, its base becomes woody over time. Cutting it back hard to 6 to 12 inches above ground each early spring keeps the plant upright and prevents leggy growth. Russian sage's foliage contains essential oils that have been studied for antimicrobial properties, making it an interesting plant for gardeners who enjoy experimenting with natural household cleaners. Combine Russian sage with ornamental grasses, coneflower, black-eyed Susan, or roses for a complementary color scheme. Lavender purple against yellow and orange creates a striking visual contrast that photographs beautifully and garners social media engagement. In coastal gardens, Russian sage tolerates salty breezes, making it a reliable choice for seaside borders where many other perennials fail. Number 6. Daylily, Hemeracalis. Daylilies boast over 80,000 registered cultivars, offering a dizzying array of colors and forms. For reliable performance, choose diploid or tetraploid cultivars. Tetraploids generally have larger, more intensely colored flowers. Notable examples include Stella d'Oro, compact, reblooming yellow, Happy Returns, lemon yellow with repeat bloom, and Pardon Me, deep cranberry red. Daylilies are virtually indestructible, hardy across USDA zones 1 through 11, and can thrive in full sun to partial shade. They bloom from early summer through fall, with reblooming varieties delivering multiple flushes per season. Their grass-like foliage acts as a weed suppressor when mass-planted, shading out weed seeds. Hence, municipalities use them on roadsides and slopes as low-maintenance ground cover. Daylilies also serve as a nectar source for hoverflies and solitary bees, which are less attracted to nectar-rich but shallow corolla flowers. Their robust rhizomes store carbohydrates, enabling rapid regrowth after frost or drought. A critical caution: all parts of daylilies are highly toxic to cats, so garden owners with feline companions should either fence them off or avoid planting them. Dogs are generally non-toxic, but large quantities can cause digestive upset. Divide clumps every 3 to 5 years in early spring to rejuvenate growth and obtain free new plants for sharing with neighbors. Number 5. False indigo, Baptisia australis. False indigo, or Baptisia, transforms a garden with its dramatic, deep cobalt blue-purple flower spikes that erupt from blue-green foliage in late spring. Hardy in USDA zones 3 through 9, it blooms for about 3 to 4 weeks, after which the foliage retains a glaucous blue-green color throughout the season. In fall, the inflated seed pods turn charcoal black and rattle when shaken, providing striking winter interest and material for dried arrangements. Baptisia possesses a deep taproot and does not tolerate transplanting. Choose its permanent location carefully, as moving a mature plant often proves fatal. Beyond aesthetics, Baptisia is a nitrogen-fixing legume, forming a symbiotic relationship with rhizobium bacteria that convert atmospheric nitrogen into plant-available forms. This process enriches the surrounding soil, benefiting neighboring, less nitrogen-loving perennials such as roses or lavender. Plant it in full sun to light shade, in average, well-draining soil, and allow 2 to 3 years to reach its mature size of 3 to 4 feet tall and wide. Once established, it is drought-tolerant, deer-resistant, and contributes to biodiversity by attracting native bees, especially solitary mining bees that nest in the ground near its roots. Number 4. Peony, Paeonia lactiflora. Peonies are the queens of the perennial world, offering massive, fragrant blooms that can reach up to 10 inches across. Hardy in USDA zones 3 through 8, they flower in late spring to early summer, May to June, for 2 to 3 weeks, delivering a spectacular display in white, cream, blush, pink, coral, red, or burgundy. A well-planted peony can live for a century, with some specimens in America dating back to the great-grandparents of current owners. Planting depth is critical. The eyes, reddish growth buds, must be no more than 1 to 2 inches below the soil surface. Planting too deep results in vigorous foliage but no blooms. Peonies prefer a sunny location with at least 6 hours of direct light, rich, well-draining soil amended with compost, and minimal disturbance after planting. They are drought-tolerant once established, but benefit from an annual spring feeding of low-nitrogen, high-phosphorus fertilizer, for example 5-10-10, to encourage blooming. Staking may be necessary for the heavy flowers, especially after rain, and using a supportive ring of twine or a wooden ring prevents stem breakage. Ants are often attracted to the nectar. They do not harm the plant and may even aid bud opening. Notable cultivars include Sarah Bernhardt, soft pink, heavy fragrance, Carl Rosenfield, deep crimson, and Festiva maxima, pure white with crimson flecks. Pair peonies with low-growth ornamental grasses such as Japanese forest for a classic cottage garden tableau that balances height and texture. Number 3. Lavender, Lavandula angustifolia. English lavender, Lavandula angustifolia, thrives in USDA zones 5 through 8 when given full, unrelenting sun and excellent drainage. It prefers the rocky, alkaline soils of the Mediterranean, so mimic those conditions with raised beds or gritty, well-draining mixes. In hotter zones 9 to 11, choose Lavandula times intermedia, lavandine, or Lavandula stoechas, Spanish lavender, for better heat tolerance. In colder zones 4, cultivars such as Hidcote or Munstead display superior winter hardiness. Lavender blooms in early to midsummer, producing silvery grey aromatic foliage and spikes of lavender blue flowers that attract bees with magnetic force, supporting pollinator populations. The essential oil of Lavandula angustifolia, rich in linalool and linaloyl acetate, is prized in aromatherapy and has documented antimicrobial properties. Gardeners can harvest flower spikes just before they fully open, dry them in a dark, ventilated area, and use the dried flowers for sachets, potpourri, or homemade cleaning sprays. Prune annually right after flowering by cutting back about 1/3, avoiding cutting into old woody growth. Regular, light pruning keeps the plant compact and productive for 10–15 years. Cultivars worth noting: Hidcote, deep purple, compact; Munstead, early bloom, lavender blue; and Grosso, lavender, with high oil content. Plant lavender in groups of 3 or more to create a fragrant, low-maintenance border that also deters pests such as moths and cabbage loopers. Number 2. Hosta. Hosta species. Hostas are the undisputed kings of shade gardens, offering a kaleidoscope of leaf colors, from blue-green and chartreuse to gold, white and cream, and textures ranging from smooth to puckered. Hardy in USDA zones 3 through 9, they produce tall flowerscapes with lily-like, sometimes fragrant blooms in summer, but their foliage remains the main attraction. Varieties such as Empress Wu can reach 6 feet tall with leaves larger than a dinner plate, creating a focal point that draws traffic. Hostas thrive in dappled to full shade in consistently moist, humus-rich soil. Slugs are the primary pest, shredding leaves overnight. Combat them with iron phosphate slug bait, diatomaceous earth, or copper tape, or choose slug-resistant varieties with thick, waxy leaves like Halcyon or Elegans. Divide hostas every 3–5 years in early spring when the nose tips emerge, yielding multiple new plants. For added interest, pair hostas with spring-blooming spring bulbs such as tulips or crocuses. The bulbs provide early color while the hostas emerge, creating a layered seasonal effect. Because hostas retain moisture, they can be used as a living mulch around the base of larger shrubs, reducing water evaporation and suppressing weeds. Number 1. Hellebore, Helleborus orientalis. Hellebores, also known as Lenten roses, are evergreen perennials that bloom in late winter to early spring, often while frost still clings to the ground. Hardy in USDA zones 4 through 9, they provide green foliage throughout the winter when most other garden plants lie dormant. Their nodding, cup-shaped flowers appear in shades of white, cream, pale yellow, pink, plum, burgundy, and even near black, with many cultivars offering spotted or double-flowered forms. Hellebores thrive in dappled to full shade, preferably under deciduous trees that offer winter sun before leafing out and dappled shade in summer. They prefer rich, moisture-retentive yet well-draining soil, amended with leaf mold or compost. Once established, they are drought-tolerant, virtually pest-free, and deer-resistant due to toxic cardiac glycosides. They self-seed prolifically, producing seedlings that differ from the parent because of cross-pollination, adding an element of surprise to the garden. For optimal display, plant them on a slope or raised bed to keep the downward-facing blooms at eye level, or gently tilt a flower upward to admire its interior pattern. Hellebore's evergreen foliage provides winter interest and a backdrop for early-season evergreens, such as boxwood or dwarf conifers. Pairing hellebores with winter-green shrubs like pieris or mahonia creates a continuous color and texture tapestry from frost through spring. These 15 perennials collectively answer the question posed at the beginning. By choosing the right self-sustaining plants, you can create a garden that continually rewards you with color, pollinator support, and low-maintenance beauty year after year. If you let these plants take root, your garden will become the living proof that what if you invest in the right perennials, your garden truly keeps on giving.